Hello, sports nerds everywhere. It is me, Mayo with my co-host, Venomous Typin, aka Adders, and this is Sports with Adders and Mayo, hashtag SwamPod. Hello, Venomous Typin.
How you all going? Venomous Type in here, and it is the opening episode of SwamPod, hashtag SwamPod. So this
Yeah,
is going to be very interesting and quite exciting as well.
yeah, because I've wanted to do a podcast with you for a while now, and when I created a YouTube channel just so that I could watch sports videos and not have that stuff within the YouTube algorithm interfere with the Lego videos I watch. I was like, well, if I'm gonna have a sports channel, why not upload some content? And I thought, you know what, this is the right time for me to do a sports podcast with Venomous Type. And
Yeah, I mean, thanks for having me. I'm blessed to be part of this and this joint venture. I don't think that's correct terminology, but that's what came to my mind anyway.
yeah, yeah, because me and Venomous Type and talk about sports all the time on our own, and we have a lot of disagreements and a lot of different opinions, which should make for some good conversations. So we're gonna trial this as a weekly occurrence until at least the end of the calendar year. And if you're if you know anything about sports, you know that the sports calendar never stops. And if you're ultimate sports nerds like us, there's always some kind of sporting event to watch. And so right now, it is at the end of August, and September and October are always big months for sport because a lot of the European Association football leagues got themselves going in July and August. And then the two biggest sports leagues in the US, the NFL and the NBA, they kick off in they kick off in September and October. We've got the FIFA World Cup in December, and a lot of the Southern Hemisphere summer of cricket starts around November. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff, including the finals slash playoffs for the AFL and the NRL. And there's just a whole bunch of other sports stories around the world. And I believe we are still in the thick of things for the Formula One season. So there's always
Yes, they
something to
go back
watch from
this
sport.
weekend, so they've just come off their break. I think they consider it summer break, but yes,
Yeah, because
back
I
from
I believe because I believe they did take a week off, and
no,
last
they've had
time
like
I
4 weeks off, but
yeah, and last time I checked, Lewis Hamilton closed the gap on Max Verstappen for the championship lead.
I'm trying to think. No, I don't think that's who won. What's the last race? I can't even think of it now. Last race was what was the last F1 race? I know what the next one is. What was the last one? Oh, of course it was Hungary. Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Yeah,
Verstappen won that. Yeah, okay, I knew that. That was just a
yeah,
mental blank. But yeah,
yeah. Throughout, so throughout this well, I'd assume in the coming months we'll be able to crown the next world champion for Formula One, which, if you are a sports nerd, you know that Formula One is the biggest auto racing league in the world. Sorry to all of the NASCAR fans, sorry to all of the MotoGP fans, sorry to all of the IndyCar fans, and sorry to people who like the strategy of Le Mans, but Formula One is what you want to watch if you can only choose between one form of motorsport auto racing. Um, so I want to. So because Venomous Typin is a massive fan of the NBA, which is by far the fastest has been the fastest growing American sports league in this century. Um, I want to briefly talk about the farce that was the Kevin Durant trade, because according to reports, as of the time of this filming, as of the time of filming this episode, Kevin Durant and his agent met with Sean Marks, who is the general manager of the Brooklyn Nets, and Joe Tsai, who is the owner of the Brooklyn Nets, and they have agreed not to trade away Kevin Durant. If you have paid any attention to NBA media, you will know that a lot of people within the media have gone back and forth proposing different trades that the Brooklyn Nets will accept. And I think the common consensus is that the the market that was reset by general manager of the Utah Jazz, um, D- D- Danny Ainge, when he traded away Rudy Gobert to the Minnesota Timberwolves, that upset the apple cart and made trading for Kevin Durant unattainable. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, that had a bit of an impact. I think the biggest impact, though, was what Brooklyn were actually asking for. Like, I do follow the Celtics, and I do follow some of the Celtics players like pages in terms of Facebook, and there was always like trade rumors of Brooklyn wanting this, asking that. Even within the NBA, it was Brooklyn asking this and asking that. And I think especially they were asking for too much. That's just my opinion. I've looked at some of the trades that they wanted. I think some of them were like, from the Celtics point of view, it was like 2 first round picks, White, Horford, Brown, something like that. Pretty much 2 or 3 key rotation pieces, and obviously Jason Tatum or Jalen Brown in terms of the duo, plus a couple of first round draft picks. So, you know, I think they're
Yeah,
just asking too
and
much, particularly for his age as well.
yeah, and it's important to remember that when that before Kevin Durant and Rich Kleiman met with Josai and Sean Marks. Before that, Kevin Durant did request to be traded, and the two franchises of interest was the Utah Jazz and the Miami Heat. But we saw a lot of proposals with the Boston Celtics. Some people were crazy enough to say that the Golden State Warriors would want to trade to get him back.
That was insane.
Other and more so within the last 2 weeks, I've noticed more and more people that had made a trade proposals with the New Orleans Pelicans, and their GM came out and said that they are not interested in trading away their young talent.
Well, here's the thing though, like Miami were never going to do it because the only way they were going to be able to do it is Bam. Now, it's a weird thing. I don't know whether you know about this. The Bam and Ben Simmons can't play with each other because of what draft class they were in. I believe that's how it works.
Yeah,
Uh,
because
I
because
can't remember the exact rule. I remember looking it up.
isn't it because a team can't be well a team can't trade a team in the NBA can't trade for two first round picks coming off their either coming up to their rookie extension or within their rookie extension 2 years in a row or something like that, as a part of the NBA's efforts to keep younger talent with the original teams that drafted them.
Where was it? I was looking at it the other day. Yeah, it was something to do with the draft class and when they got drafted. So I think you're on the. I don't know the specifics of it. I remember looking at it the other day, but yeah, well, it's a niche trade clause, or not trade clause, but a niche rule. But I don't think I don't know how many people would have actually heard of that, to be honest. But
Yeah, and before before Kevin Durant and the Nets came to the agreement that they're not going to trade him away, I heard I heard someone say, I'm not gonna name names, that the Lakers would want to put up a trade proposal to get Kevin Durant and give the Nets Anthony Davis and a whole bunch of draft picks, which it would be outright stupid for the Los Angeles Lakers to want to trade away any little bit of assets they have, because they don't have a first round pick until the year 2027.
Really, I did not know that.
Yeah,
I knew
that's
they
why it
traded a few
was.
away, but I
Yeah,
thought they like 2024 or
That's
so.
why it was laughable. That's why it was laughable, in my opinion, and it is still laughable that the Lakers are the only ones looking to trade for Kyrie Irving, because at some point the Lakers front office has to acknowledge they can't keep kicking the can down the road. They're going to have to develop young talent eventually. Anthony Davis injury is always a hot topic. LeBron James, at the end of his 2 year contract extension for just under 100 million US dollars, will take him till age 39. So that isn't going to last. That isn't going to
Well, he's
last.
not gonna. I was gonna say after that contract,
That
but
isn't going to last until 2027. So, in my opinion, as a Lakers fan, it would be foolish to trade away any more first round picks.
well, yeah, especially when you don't have a few. But I think LeBron after 2 years anyway is gonna end up playing with Bronny. So the
Yeah,
Lakers are only
because
gonna have him for 2 more seasons. So
LeBron James did confirm in the media either last year or or before Bronny started playing high school basketball that he does want to finish his career playing with his son, which would be a magical moment and might be the most magical moment in NBA history to see a father play with his son.
yeah, true. But I got a controversial opinion on this. I don't know whether to be the greatest for Bronny because, especially coming in as a draft, I think he'll be overshadowed by LeBron, especially for the first few years. There'd probably be a lot of added pressure onto him as well. And of course, LeBron's like one of the biggest marketed type players in the world. So Bronny's not going to be able to compete with that. I think he will get overshadowed while he's playing with LeBron.
Yeah, because LeBron James, with his hundreds of millions of followers on Twitter and Instagram, that would bring a lot of unnecessary pressure to Bronny. I haven't formed an opinion about that yet, but I have heard a lot of people in the media echo the sentiment that you just said.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, as I said, it probably will be magical, but but it definitely is a downside. While I think it's great for LeBron, I think for Bronny, it's probably. I mean, it's great. Obviously, playing with your dad. Like, I don't think has that been done before. I'm not 100% sure. I don't think so. But yeah, there definitely has like some downsides, especially early on in Bronny's career.
Yeah, so now I wanted to move along to something that me and Adrian particularly care about is the upcoming AFL finals. So for those around the world who don't know what the Australian Football League is, it's the National League of Australian Rules Football. The AFL has gained a very small cult following in the US because of so many Americans who have grown up their whole lives watching watching American football, who have grown up watching American football, basketball, or baseball. They do reaction videos to the AFL on YouTube, and they are amazed how much physicality is within the game, and they are equally amazed that they don't have to wear shoulder pads. I think Venomous has just muted himself. So
Yes, I have briefly.
both teams I follow, the North Melbourne Kangaroos and the Adelaide Crows, did not make the finals this year, and neither did the Port Adelaide Power. So we both both have nothing to write home about. No emotional stakes in the upcoming AFL finals, but I'll tell you what. I predicted earlier on this season that the qualifying finals would be Collingwood, Geelong, and Melbourne, Sydney. And what happened? The qualifying finals are going to be are going to be Geelong versus Collingwood and Melbourne versus Sydney. So for all of the Australians watching who care about the AFL finals, round one at Thursday night, Thursday night at 7:20 p.m. It'll be the Richmond Tigers and the Brisbane Lions in the elimination final.
Yes, it's
Then on Friday night at 7:50 p.m. It'll be the Melbourne Demons and the Sydney Swans in one of the qualifying finals. Then on Saturday at 4:35 p.m. will be the Geelong Cats and the Collingwood Magpies. And then where was it? And then on Saturday night at 8:10 p.m. Eastern will be the Fremantle Dockers and the Western Bulldogs in the other elimination finals. So I'm going to predict Richmond, Melbourne, Geelong, and Fremantle to win those games. So in the first round, I think the Bulldogs and the Brisbane Lions are going home.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet, especially with especially with Freo beating the Bulldogs a few weeks ago in Melbourne. It's going to be even more difficult for the Bulldogs being in Perth. That one being in Perth. So, yeah, I think Freo. That's probably the sure one. Having said that, everyone knows in 2016 they said that about the Eagles too, beating the Bulldogs. So, that was fun. Then they went on to win the premiership. But no, I think this time around, I think Freo will get the
Yeah,
job done there.
because the Western Bulldogs just don't have a good enough defense. Their one-on-one defense in in the back in their defensive 50-meter arc is terrible, and their transition defense is equally terrible.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, I
But
think the
Freo's forward
best.
line's not great either, though, to be fair.
Yeah, because while the Western Bulldogs have been dealing with injuries to their defenders all year, the Fremantle Dockers have been dealing with injuries to their forwards all year. And the best ability is availability.
That is a fair point. But yeah, I think the hardest one to pick is probably, for me, is probably Richmond Brisbane being at the Gabba. Like, Richmond have got so much experience. And even though Brisbane were horrible last time they played at the Gabba against Melbourne in the last round, their record at the Gabba is really good. They've lost 3 games in the last 3 years up at the Gabba. Having said that, some of those on in the last couple, they've lost on like 2 or 3 games or something. They haven't lost very many. I think a
Now the
lot of those must
reason
have been
now
finals.
the reason I disagree with that is because Brisbane do not have a good finals record under head coach Chris Fagan, and we have seen throughout Richmond's dynasty winning winning 3 out of 4 premierships from 2017 to 2020 that they clearly have the clutch gene, and Brisbane do not have the clutch gene. When I measure how different teams win premierships, championships, and titles all across the world, particularly in Australia, the UK, and the US, I look at, can teams play play situational, and can teams win big when it matters most, aka clutch time. I am very critical of teams who cannot win in the clutch, and Brisbane, in my opinion, cannot win in the clutch. For all of our NFL fans out there, I believe that the Green Bay Packers cannot win in the clutch because they have suffered way too many embarrassing losses at home at the frozen tundra in Wisconsin that is Lambeau Field. Just like how before Drew Brees retired as the quarterback for the New Orleans Saints, I called them a and I called them an unclutch team. I think Brisbane is equally unclutch.
Yeah, which is disappointing actually, because I do like Brisbane. I'm not going to lie. And I was hoping it'd be either Brisbane Freo to get through to the grand final. I can't see that happening. But one team I actually can see happening that I'm rooting for is Sydney. So we'll see how that goes, though.
Yeah, because I think that Melbourne Sydney qualifying final will be the closest. So moving on, I want to do a little bit of a segue to the NFL. I am a Denver Broncos fan in the American Football Conference hashtag Orange Crush, and I am a Philadelphia Eagles fan in the National Football Conference hashtag Fly Eagles Fly. And when I heard the reports that Wilson was out with injury, I started panicking like crazy because I thought they were talking about our quarterback, Russell Wilson, but it was the New York Jets quarterback, Zach Wilson, who is under an injury cloud and may not start for week one.
Yes. I don't know who the Jets even play week one. I know it's not us, which is unfortunate because that would have been nice. But that's not the case. I think we get the Jets the week after or week three. We play them early on.
Because who do you support in the NFL? This is going to make a lot of people really mad.
Yes, I support the New England Patriots.
Yeah,
Yes, it's going to make
everyone.
everybody mad. Yes.
Yes, it's that's going to make
There is a
everybody
trend
mad.
here: Boston Celtics, New England Patriots. You could probably guess some of the others in the US.
Yeah,
But
the Boston Bruins in the NHL. I'm a Pittsburgh Penguins fan in the NHL, and we the only thing about sports in Boston that we can agree upon is we are both Red Sox fans, and over the summer, the ownership of the Boston Red Sox actually purchased the Pittsburgh Penguins.
really, I didn't know that. The more you learn.
Yeah. So yeah, so you would have really liked to have not you will it would have made the Patriots going up against the Jets in the first week even more of a whitewash because the New York Jets are the butt of a lot of people's jokes in the NFL.
Well, apparently, a lot of people, I don't know how true this is, but a lot of people are expecting the Patriots to finish bottom of the AFC.
Well, of the AFC East
Well,
division.
AFC East, yeah, I should have said that.
Well,
East.
I'm predicting the Jets to finish because they've had back to back really good off seasons, especially in the trade and the draft, but they're just hampered by injuries at key positions, i.e., offensive tackle and the quarterback.
Yeah, that doesn't help, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I've been on the record saying that I would not be surprised if all four teams out of the AFC West make the playoffs, and because of that, it'd be very difficult for anyone but the Buffalo Bills to make the playoffs out of the AFC East.
Yeah, even the Dolphins, though, that's one that I thought might have gone in, but
Yeah, because the Dolphins are a much improved team with the addition of Tyreek Hill for big money wide receiver contract. Yeah, so I can't wait until week one of the NFL. But
it's only a
sadly
couple
I
of
won't
weeks
be
away
able
too.
but sadly I won't be able to watch the first week because my university won't get out until November. I think I'll be able to watch the second and third week because I'll be on spring break during that time.
When do
So
I go
that's
on break? I go on break, yeah, second as well.
yeah,
Second week of NFL.
because for us here in Australia, we have to be up in the early hours of Monday morning for us NFL fans. Now, I wanted to
Yes.
make a detour over to the English Premier League because I am also on record. Yes, I have a lot of quote hot takes with sport, with how badly Manchester United. I am a Red Devil. If you guys didn't know, with how badly Manchester United have performed since Sir Alex Ferguson, aka Fergie Time, retired as their head coach manager back in 2013. My expectations have never been lower, and I said on someone's live stream that my expectations are so low. I'm just hoping we avoid relegation. That's how bad things are.
And then you get relegated. But that made massive news if Man United got relegated.
Yeah, just like how in the last season of the English Premier League, it would have been, it would have been a really sad day for Everton if they had gotten relegated, but they did avoid relegation.
That is true.
Yeah, because Manchester United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, um, and Everton have been staples of the English Premier League. It's been staples of the EPL for the longest of time, and I don't believe Everton have ever been relegated.
Well, I don't know how true this is, but a lot of the top clubs would have never been relegated, have they?
Yeah, because I believe Manchester United were only relegated once in the 50s or the 60s. That was either before or after Bobby Charlton.
I'm curious now.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
so
I didn't even know that any of them actually did get relegated.
yeah, and so and so Liverpool, who is Venomous Titan's team, has a lot of injuries right now, and I believe that's the only reason why last weekend Manchester United actually bet Liverpool 2-1 at Old Trafford Stadium.
Yes, that was
I don't believe if Liverpool had all of those injuries that we would have beaten them.
no. But it's been a sluggish start. I'm hoping that. Well, one of them was due to suspension, was it not? So we'll get him back in a couple of weeks. But
Yeah. And just to wrap up this episode, in the National Rugby League, both me and Venomous Typin are fans of the South Sydney Rabbitohs. As it stands, we are clinging. Well, there are. Let me count this. Let me count this. There are um positions 6 to 8 as it stands right now at the filming of this episode. All have the same amount of wins, and then ninth position is only one game behind all of those, and those at position 6 to 8 are only one game out of fifth spot. So it is going to be a very tight race to see how how the finals of the NRL will
yes.
make up.
Although the Rabbitohs run home is not easy, I will say this much.
No, it is not easy, and a lot of the top 8 teams will surely uh, beat each other up. So the standings as it currently stands, um, from first to 8, the Penrith Panthers, the North Queensland Cowboys, the Cronulla Sharks, the Melbourne Storm, the Parramatta Eels, the Sydney Roosters, the South Sydney Rabbitohs, and the Brisbane Broncos. That can all change within the next 5 games. When this episode goes up, there will only be 4 games. There will only yeah sorry yeah no sorry there may or may not be 4 games to go because we're still undecided about which week we're going to upload this thing, depending on YouTube clearance. So
Oh, yeah.
the next month, as Rabbitohs fans, we will be particularly paying attention to the makeup of the NRL finals. And
Yes.
so I think we have had a good first episode.
Yes, I think we have. We've covered quite a lot of things. Must admit.
We've covered a little bit of everything. The last question I'll say to get us out of here is it is now highly it is now well now we know that to go back to the NFL, Deshaun Watson has been suspended for 11 games for violating the NFL's code of conduct policy and um um for and sullying the shield. There was a lot of litigation, and we might talk about that in the next episode. But
Yes.
do you think that the do you think that 11 games was the right suspension, plus the $5 million in fines, and ordered to undergo treatment slash therapy?
Well, my question is, has he been convicted?
Well, he was cleared by the Texas grand jury, and that was the only reason why the Cleveland Browns went out and traded for him and gave him the most guaranteed money in the history of NFL contracts.
Right. Because to me, if he's been cleared or it's an all allegation, I would just let him play until he's been found guilty. That's just my opinion. And then at that point, it would be sort of taken out of the league's hands anyway. And then it would then come down to the courts if there was like jail time or anything. But for
Well,
me,
yeah,
God,
I think that it should have been a 14 game suspension, not 11 games. I wasn't ever calling it for it to be a season, but he did violate the NFL's code of conduct policy, and he did sully the shield, in my opinion, more than any other NFL player who violated the code of conduct policy. I think what Deshaun Watson did with what Judge Sue Robinson described as predatory actions is worse than the Ben Roethlisberger or the Ray Rice incident. I think it is worse because he had to settle with 24 women massage therapists wanted to who wanted to get him criminally convicted, but they settled in the Texas district. No, sorry, in the Texas civil court, I believe.
okay, right.
Yeah, so we'll definitely get into more detail about that in the first week of the NFL, because there's a whole can of worms, and that is something that we'll talk about more thoroughly in coming episodes. So this has been Sports with Adders and Mayo. Where can we find you on social media?
Well, you can follow me at Venomous Taipan 269 on Instagram and also at the Venomous Taipan YouTube channel.
And for me, you can subscribe to my main channel, Mayo Hosco. You can also subscribe to this channel, Mayo Hosco Sports, where I do all my sports related content. And for any more social medias where you want to find me, be sure to go to mayohosco.weebly.com. Me and Venomous Typin are both sports nerds, and this podcast is meant for sports nerds. So if you want to make up any memes, or if you want to get in contact with us, be sure to use the hashtag SWAMPOD. That's SWAMPod, so that we can see what you guys have to say. So, on behalf of me, Mayo Hosco, and Venomous Typin, this has been SWAMPod.
See ya, everybody.
See ya, everybody.